Coming into UFC 271, I am feeling very confident in my picks. This is partly because of the picks themselves, but also because I have barely missed a prediction in the last few pay-per-view cards. And yes, I did pick Amanda Nunes to win, but so did the whole world, so I'm going to take a free pass on that one. I am very excited for UFC 271, and I think the main event is going to be a very fun fight and a very different fight from the first go-round, but more on that in a minute. As always, let's work from the bottom up, and let me tell you some of the early picks that I am making. There are two fights that feature big underdogs at UFC 271. The first is a fight between Roxanne Modafferi at plus 285 versus Casey ONeill at minus 375. Roxanne is coming off back-to-back losses, and before that, she hadn't won more than one fight in a row since 2017. She alternated between wins and losses 4 times and then lost 2 in a row, and that's where we are right now. And Casey ONeill is undefeated at 8-0 and just beat a very, very good Antonia Shevchenko, who is Valentina Shevchenko's sister. I really don't see any path to victory for Roxanne at all, and I think Casey ONeill will cruise to a win here. The other big underdog is Matt Schnell at plus 300 versus Alex Perez at minus 400, and this fight is actually the biggest underdog on the card fighting the biggest favorite on the card. Schnell is coming off a loss that was later overturned to a no contest after Rogerio Bontorin tested positive for a banned substance, and overall Schnell has 1 win in his last 3 fights, which is not great. Alex Perez is also coming off a loss, but that loss was to current flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo, so not all losses are created equal. If you've been following my picks, you know that I always like to make an underdog pick. In this case, I'm actually picking Schnell to win, and I admit that this is in no way a technique or skill-based pick, but this fight was supposed to happen once. It was moved to a different card for undisclosed reasons, and then Perez missed weight, and then the fight was canceled again for medical reasons after he already missed the weight. So now that the fight is rescheduled, I'm gonna pick against the guy who missed weight and caused a bunch of issues for the fight the last few times around. And maybe it's a stupid Matt Schnell is really mad kind of pick, or maybe it's just a case of I hope the guy who missed weight loses, but either way, I'm going to take Matt Schnell. And since I think Casey ONeill is so easily going to win, I'm going to parlay the 2 picks together to get plus 406 odds that both Schnell and ONeill will win. A fight on this card I am really looking forward to is Cannonier versus Derrick Brunson. I think Cannonier is the better striker, but Derrick Brunson is on a tear and has 5 straight wins, and he's a very accomplished grappler. The big question will be whether or not Cannonier can stuff the takedowns of Brunson and keep it standing long enough to land some power shots. Between the two of these guys, 27 of their combined 37 wins have come via stoppage, and that's a pretty good percentage. I like Cannonier here via stoppage, and since I think he'll win with a KO or TKO, I'm not going to bet on him straight up at minus 176. I'm going to take a prop bet that says he'll win via KO/TKO at plus 125 to try to maximize the payoff. It is crazy to me that at 43 years old, Andrei Arlovsky is still not only fighting, but he's actually the betting favored over Jared Vera, who's 14 years younger than him. Vera is coming off a loss in October to Alexander Romanov, and in his 3 UFC fights, he's been TKO'd twice. I'm taking Arlovsky here at minus 158, partially because he's a legend, but also because he's had the better success lately and he's still got power in his hands. The co-main event for UFC 271 is a fight that should be a slugfest between 2 guys with massive power who like to stand and bang. And for that reason, I am a little concerned that the fight between Derrick Lewis and Tai Tuivasa will be boring. That concern stems from one half of this fight being Derrick Lewis, who, even though he has the most knockouts in UFC heavyweight history, he can at times shell up a little bit against someone with similar power. And you're right, I'm not over the Francis Ngannou fight yet, even 4 years later. Maybe I should just move on. But I think this fight will have a feeling out period to start, since both guys, they know the power that the other one possesses. but I do think eventually someone will go to sleep. In addition to always picking an underdog, I always seem to pick someone that logic tells me they're going to lose, but I sort of hope they don't. And that pick this card is Tai Tuivasa. I really like him as a fighter on top of the great personality that he has. And yes, I could say the exact same thing about Derrick Lewis. But for me, I've already seen Lewis in there with the greats in the heavyweight division, and I would love to see some new blood crack into the top of the rankings. And I think that could be Tai Tuivasa. I'm taking Tuivasa at plus 154, but like I say every time I pick Tuivasa, I will not be doing a shoey if he wins. On to the main event, and I am pumped for this rematch. Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker first fought back in 2019, and Izzy pretty much put on a clinic. He knocked out Whittaker in the second round, and the fight was not at all close. Since the first fight, Whittaker has been on a 3-fight win streak, and he's really shown that, to me, he's far and away better than everyone else in the division. Everyone else not named Israel Adesanya. Both Whittaker and Adesanya have said in the lead up to this rematch that they expect the fight to be different. I think the general consensus amongst everyone is that Whittaker just wasn't himself in that first fight. If you're Robert Whittaker, you definitely need to attempt to use your superior grappling to control the fight and keep Adesanya on his back and limit Adesanya's ability to just be the surgical precision striker that he is. I think Whittaker will have some success in this regard, but I still think that right now Izzy is just too good, and unfortunately, because I like him a lot, unfortunately I don't see Whittaker getting his belt back. I think the fight will be closer than the first fight, and it might even go the distance, but I still see Israel Adesanya working his range and landing clean shots. Israel Adesanya will win 3 rounds to 2, and I'm taking him at minus 265 to win. In case you skipped to the end of the video just for the picks, here they are. I am taking Schnell and ONeill parlayed at plus 406, Cannonier to win via KO or TKO at plus 125, Arlovsky at minus 158, Tuivasa at plus 154, and Adesanya at minus 265. But I want to know what picks you're making. What picks of mine do you agree with? Which ones do you think I got wrong? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I hope we're all going to win some money this weekend. If you want to watch something else now, there's some good videos over here for you to check out. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next episode.